But we've got to deal with some hard questions. We don't have any of the original copies of any book of the Bible, and that can cause real doubt, insecurity. When it comes to ancient works, can I tell you something? We have almost no original copies of what? Anything. Do we still study ancient history? Yes, because we still can get reliable, we can go back and get close to the original and reconstruct what was the original. So some of these things, again, you will already know, but I want to point these out to give you a sense of assurance. Are Plato's works still important today in college and philosophy classrooms? Yes, they are. Remember Plato, the student of Socrates? Much of what we have about Socrates comes from Plato. We don't actually have Socrates' writings. And so Plato, this incredibly influential figure in philosophy to this day, we read him. People sometimes have to memorize large sections. I don't envy that part. And then you have to say it back or write it down. Plato, we don't have any original copies of anything Plato wrote. All we have are you ready? 7 copies. 7 handwritten manuscripts of what Plato wrote, and therefore most of what we know of Socrates as well, not all, but much of what we know of Socrates. And the earliest copy, in comparison to the original, is distanced by 1,400 years. Now let's just let that sit on you for a second. 7 copies. The earliest copy, going back to the original, is separated from the original by 1,400 years. And do we act like we have no idea what he originally wrote? No. These copies have differences between them. This doesn't mean we have no access to what was said by Plato and Socrates, with just 7 manuscripts almost 1,500 years removed. Aristotle, he's doing a little bit better. He's got 49 copies. Thank you very much. He wants you to know he's got 49. 49 copies of Aristotle. The earliest copy is also 1,400 years removed from the original, and yet we still have a very strong sense of what he said. If you'll see here, the largest circle on the right side of the screen is Homer. You may have guessed that. Homer is doing pretty good. Iliad, Odyssey, remember Homer? You're like, I was trying to forget about him. I studied him a long time ago. But Homer, we have 643 copies. Now that is amazing. That's the best thing you can find in the ancient world, with one exception. And his are about 500 years removed from the original. Now is that a lot better than 1,400 years? So we have great access to Homer. 643 copies, going back as far as 500 years from the original, and when you put them together, can you reconstruct with great accuracy what was originally written by Homer? Yes, you can. Now, you may be wondering what the sun is on the other side of the screen. The sun, blocked out in part by that white chart there, the sun is this. It is every handwritten copy of the New Testament we have in every ancient language that we have it in. So in Greek, the original language, we have about 6,000 copies of the New Testament. Those are fragments and some complete copies. And then you add to it the Latin. We have more than 10,000 copies in Latin. Then you have Syriac and Coptic from Egypt, and on and on. When you put them all together, we have 24,000. Okay, remember, Plato's feeling really insecure right now. He's got 7, he's like, okay, what about my works? 7 copies of Plato, 1,400 years from the original. In the New Testament, we have 24,000 copies in various languages. So here's the thing. If someone wants to start changing manuscripts, what do they have to do? They got to change a lot of manuscripts, and they got to change them in a lot of languages, and then they've got to hide what they did and never get caught. And that doesn't sound very likely to me. So what we have is 24,000 manuscripts. One great scholar on this subject, Daniel Wallace, has said, we should be embarrassed by the riches that we have as Christians because nobody else comes close. Nobody else comes close. Voddie Baucham said, nobody is tearing down the walls in college because they're reading Caesar, Plato, and Aristotle, but they want to tear down the walls because we're reading what? The Bible. Now, do you see the bias going on here? The bias. If 7 copies, 1,400 years removed, can be at least pretty much reliable, how much more can 24,000 copies be, and how close do we get to the originals? We have portions of John's Gospel, this is debatable, written between 35 and 65 years from the original. Is that better than 1,400 years? So we have copies of the New Testament within a few centuries in complete, full form from different parts of the world. And are there differences? Yes. If you have almost any Bible today, will say at the bottom of most pages footnotes where it says some manuscripts say this, some manuscripts say that. What do we do about that? Well, here's the deal. Do those differences threaten any significant doctrine of the Christian faith? No. The Trinity, the resurrection, the divinity of Jesus, the death of Jesus, none of those doctrines, no major doctrine is threatened by these manuscript variations, and we have such good scholarship. I guess I can just say, take my word for it, but you can look into this yourself. The New Testament translations that we have today, the literal translations that we have in the ESV and the NASB and other type translations are so good. We should really be embarrassed by the kind of riches that we enjoy as Christians today. We really can trust that what we are reading now is what they wrote then.